pleasure again.
Grazie, Paolo. Thank you, Paolo, and thank you, your colleague. Now we go to the last session. We are perfectly on time, which is very rare in Italy, but Egyptian are inspiring us. We have now a final panel moderated by Antonio Cammisecra, the head of the business, global business of Enel Green Power. And then we have Evangelos, Lianos, Florian Zickfeld, Karan, Ricardo, Chocarro, and Ahmed Elsewedy, discussing the last issue on thank you, Antonello, on how industry, technology provider see at the end they have to compete with the financing, bankability, affordability, permission, so on. So Antonello, thank you very much for chairing this event. There's no slides, just speaking from the floor, and you have all your colleagues coming there. Okay.
Thank you, Roberto. And after, let's say, having heard a lot of good ideas from the banks, not loud, let's discuss about real stuff. So, I mean, steel and iron and concrete. So this session is about the role of technological, let's say, providers in helping the investors in rising the competition of renewable energy in Egypt. We could say today that this question is almost over if we consider the price of competition that has been, let's say, informally announced after the recent results of one part, let's say, of the program that the government of Egypt has launched. We have a very distinguished set of panelists here. I will start with Ahmed Elsewedy, who is president of CEO and Elsewedy Electric Company. And then we have the let's say, distinguished representation of, let's say, international companies that have a very important interest in the country. And the first question is for all of you, so I could ask you to be quite short in your answer so we can make more than one. And the first question is, how do you rank Egypt in comparison to other MENA markets in terms of attractiveness for sales and, most importantly, for manufacturing in the country? I will start from Mr. Sewedy, and then we can go, I mean, from right to left. Thank you.
What's the question?
The question is, how do you rank Egypt with respect to other MENA countries in terms of attractiveness for local manufacturing?
Yes, okay. Just a give introduction. I'm Ahmed Sewedy. I'm the CEO and president of Sewedy Electric, one of the biggest manufacturers in the region for the cables, transformers, meters, and other things related to the infrastructure. And I see Egypt, if you see at manufacturing base in the region, it's really one of the best. From point that, of course, before the revolution, we used to really, as cost-wise of energy is much less, labor cost is really less. Logistic-wise, we are able to export to Europe, to the Arab countries, to even to Africa with almost no taxes. We and in Sweden, we have almost over 15 countries working, producing cables and transformers and meters in Algeria, Saudi, Qatar, all over Africa, even in Europe, in Spain, in Slovenia. But we see Egypt is one of the most attractive, as we export over 80% of our production to outside of Egypt, mainly to Europe, mainly to Africa and the Middle East. This proves that really we are very competitive, even as a local production.
Very good, thank you. Please, Florian.
For Abengoa as a large solar company that's operating more than 1.5 gigawatts of solar power around the world, I think we can say that Egypt is a huge new opportunity, and I mean, for successful manufacturing, a large domestic market is a very viable, or it's a very important asset. And Egypt, with its, I think, 90 million people today, and about every year 1 million more, it's so even more, even better. Has this huge domestic market has a huge need for all kinds of installations in the power industry, And if the country continues to deliver as it has been doing in the past months on implementing the framework and making projects in the country work, then certainly, as we have done in other countries, we will also, following the projects, manufacturing will come into the country. And then once you are competitively manufacturing for a domestic market in a country like Egypt in a strategic logistic position, then going beyond the country's borders is a logical next step. But we have to see that really we keep the pace and we keep the good work that we've seen in the past months in order to really deliver.
Thank you. Please.
Well, thanks for being here. Evangelos Lianos from Yingli Solar. We are one of the leading solar panel manufacturers. Now Egypt is 90 million population and every year 2.5 million more. So compare this to Europe, you have Germany. If the energy need of Egypt is only, 40-50% of Germany, then in Germany you have, at the moment, 25-30 gigawatt of renewable energy installed. So it means that Egypt might be something like 10-15 gigawatt of renewable energy market. As simple as that.
Hello, good afternoon. Ricardo Chocarro from Gamesa. First question about market or sales in Egypt. Very easy to answer. It's absolutely top ranked in the MENA region, maybe together with Morocco. And I was saying it's easy to answer because after hearing today Egyptian institution, their determination and commitment with the country, after hearing our potential customer in the area, their enthusiasm, and after hearing the support of the financial community, it's easy to say. For us, it's absolutely top ranked. Regarding manufacturing, thanks to the continuous presence of Gamesa in the area for the last 10 years, we have built and delivered around more than 600 megawatts of wind. We have already developed a very solid network of suppliers, medium voltage cables, towers, transformers, and also subcontractors for turbine erection, for civil works, for electrical works, for O&M, for maintenance of the wind farm. So we do think it's a very good country, very good area for manufacturing and servicing in the future.
Yeah, thank you. We from Vestas, I think we have to say that Egypt is not something new. In Egypt, we have altogether installed 500 megawatt are installed, which is not nothing or not little compared to the rest of the MENA region. Okay, there's some activities ongoing in Jordan, Morocco, but at the end, 500 megawatt is a fact. So this we have to consider. So for us, and we have all heard that the importance of Egypt and the growth and the energy demand, all this drives this to an important market, and we will be there. Maybe a comment to our critics that the tariffs are so low. I remember 2006, also my company, but also other companies, we said we want to bring wind on pair to oil and gas, to traditional energy. We have to say, unfortunately, we succeeded. But at the end, it was also clear. We asked for the game that we are not anymore a niche. Now we are not anymore a niche, so we have to play on pair with the other technologies. This is a fact.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we will start from Rainer, and we'll go right to left. What do you think will be the contribution of foreign operators in a broad sense, foreign manufacturers, foreign investors in this value chain?
Yeah, maybe we have to say foreign operator means developers, utilities.
Yeah.
I think they bring their experience, their global experience, because Egypt is Egypt and has the particularities, but the experience and the knowledge and the capability to do big projects in certain environment, the companies to bring for abroad. So I think that in foreign companies, utilities, developers go to Egypt can only be seen as very positive because they bring the experience, the knowledge, also the financing, and also speed up. Because I think it makes no sense that Egypt grows everything by alone if there's the experience abroad. We, from a technology provider as Vestas, we are happy to follow the utilities, the big companies, because we have to work together with them on a global base, also in other countries. So I think it's an easy way to make similar things again and to address the issues, the risk not only technical risk, O&M risk, but also financial risk for financial institutions, multilaterals, to address them together. And I think this is only positive for the country, that it happens faster than the normal years and years of procedure which could it take if nothing happens.
Very little to add to my colleague and competitor said. That's true that foreign investors,
say something cheaper,
foreign financial institutions, and we as foreign manufacturers will help the country to boost into wind. That's for sure, and that's something that the history has shown us in different countries. So as well, at least from a technology perspective, our role will be to go with our lesson learned in other developing countries in the renewables, and try to apply that even faster and even cheaper.
Again, with an example, if you take the list of the solar applicants, something like 85 in totality, 1/3 of them is, if not all of them, somehow directly or indirect, are foreign companies which are getting involved in that in the solar fit. However, I'm a strong believer that no non-Egyptian can do anything in Egypt without a local partner. It doesn't work. It's the culture, it's the way of handling things, and so on and so forth. So you need a local partner or somebody to work out together locally. That's on the developer side. Let's go to something which is more on the production side. Does it make sense to produce in Egypt? Take the example of Germany. How many companies are trying to produce solar panels in Germany? How many of them are successful? And at the moment, we have a very big fear that if in the Middle East, in 4 years, the same thing happened, what happened in Europe, where today we are on the bottom, no bank, where are the bankers? No bank will finance a production line which should have a lifetime of, 10, 12 years. So local production, it's not always the easy part. Let's put some robots together and let's produce panels and let's produce produce polysilicon and so on and so forth. Other ones are tried and it doesn't work. I'm not saying that there will not be local producers. I hope that there will be local producers, but it will not make 50% of the local production. It will make, like in Germany, maybe 10, 15%. I would concentrate where I can really establish, have local content, which is on the EPC part, which is on getting real jobs on civil construction and so on and so forth. This is where I see local content.
Thank you. Florian.
So where do we as a company with an international portfolio of renewables bring value to Egypt? I think there's a lot of things. We've been through the process many times. So while we are now reading the agreements and having a discussion on those, we're already looking ahead, preparing for the next roadblocks that we know will be coming in the next 1 or 2 years. But to point out maybe one example, when you have a company like Abengoa operating a solar power plant in Egypt, immediately from day one on, that power plant will be part of a globally monitored portfolio. That operations and maintenance manager will be benchmarked against 2 or 3 dozens of his colleagues in the whole world. And so we will make sure that the operation and maintenance of a solar facility in Egypt will have the same standards as in Spain, as in South Africa, as in Chile, as in Abu Dhabi, as everywhere where we are operating these plants. And I think this is, after getting the power plants online, we want to have reliable electricity from them for 25 years. And this is one of the things where really you can profit from the experience that others have been making by having companies in the country that have been doing the same thing in other countries.
Thank you. To you, Mr. Sewedy, that are Egyptian, probably the question should be a little bit different. That is, do you see more risks or opportunities from this, let's say, invasion of foreign operators and players into your country?
I want just to comment on some points. First, to work in Egypt, you should not have even a local or Egyptian partner at all. You can work 100% foreigner. Especially that Egyptians by themselves, they like foreigners. And they are used to foreigners. And it's easy to find people with good calibers to even to recruit them or to work with them. Egypt for foreigners, I believe it's very good investment, especially that politically, I believe since the last 3 years, politically we are much more stable. People really love the president, love what's going on, believe in the future. So there is, I think, stability-wise and politically-wise, it's really very good. And the government, which is now available, are trying to help very much to push any and to attract any foreign investment. Whatever problems they have, they're trying really to get rid of it, especially the Ministry of Electricity, Ministry of even Industry, and the Ministry of Investment, which are really great. They're doing perfect job. I believe that as industry, I'm with you. For me, most of the industries I have over 12 industries doing in our company. If I'm not able to export it, I close the operation. If I am able to export 70 to 80%, then I continue on. So sometimes it's not feasible to produce. So we just forget about it. I'm not sure about solar. I did not study it, but this is the concept. As if we are able to export and to take part of the market around you and to compete with, let's say, Chinese and compete with the Indians and to compete with the Europeans, then you can go ahead with it. So I believe really these days it's a very good opportunity for investment, and we are not worried about this because the investment in the energy, we're speaking about $40 or $50 billion investment for the next 5 or 6 years. This cannot be done by Egyptian companies. Egyptian companies will be around 10-15% of this investment. And over 80% of this investment will be coming from outside. So this is the only way for us to find the jobs and to find employment, which is, I think, the most important thing for all the Egyptians, including us.
Very good, thank you. I would like now to involve in the discussion the two, let's say, big wind players in terms of local content and local manufacturing also to export in the region. And we see that in many programs, local content that is somehow, let's say, imposed to the investors sometimes ends up being an additional cost that you have and not really an opportunity. This is not always true, and I believe that in the MENA region this is not the case. So to what extent producing locally part of the, say, components that we are in a wind turbine can be an opportunity and not an additional cost that an investor should consider, and to what extent you could even export from that region? Please.
Okay. Also there I would like to say, before we come to the chicken egg question, for first manufacturing, then the megawatts, but I would like to say...
But this is the final one. Don't ruin my...
Okay. No, but I have to say that Egypt is an industrialized country. It has already industry, a lot of industry, and also on the project and the execution. We did our first one more than 10 years ago, Zafarana, but there are a lot of examples. There's an industry because there's a high-level internationalized electrical company, civil company, infrastructure company, towers to be done. So it's not that we go in a country where there is no base. We go in a country which is in the industrial base, which has to be used and has shown that it can be used, even has shown to can export. Then we come to the usual question, local manufacturing. I would say it's the usual chicken and egg question, because to have that it does not become a burden, it must be under a mid or long-term view under certain megawatts per year, because otherwise it becomes a burden, because otherwise it's also an investment of a factory. We now speak about factory of core components, has to pay off. It can only pay off via the selling of the product. So it's the same like if you invest in a new country, it has to pay off the investment. So the same. So I would not say it's impossible, but first of all, we have to go, or Egypt, on the feed-in tariff, on the tenders, on the PPA. It has to show that the country has really started and continue to grow and make available a certain amount of megawatt per year, I think then something will follow. But it's difficult to say a priori to request the investment if it's not sure that the investment pays off, because I think this is a normal business plan. Nevertheless, we as industrial technology provider, Vestas, or I think also others, we have shown that we can adapt to local needs from technical side, from other aspects, and also manufacturing side. So we will make our business case according what are the reality in Egypt. I think everybody will do like this. If the reality in Egypt makes it possible, then our management will take in consideration.
Thank you, Rainer.
Antonio, you are right. Here the name of the game is cost of energy, and if local content provides better cost of energy, it will make sense, and in a natural manner will happen. And that's something we have seen all around the world, and Gamesa has been deploying factories all around the world because the natural competency and the natural play field requires that. Okay, so as of today, we have as Gamesa supply chains in 5 areas of the world, and why not? We have to evaluate if the future volumes of the area will make sense for an investment that, as my colleague was saying, is only another investment case. So it's exactly the same that our customers do for investment in a wind farm in certain place. We are doing the same for a factory. Okay, and we need to somehow see the future income flows for justifying the investment. What is here that if the volumes are there, that will happen in a natural manner. Already Gamesa is manufacturing locally the towers, as I was saying before, the medium voltage cables, etc. So and it happened in a natural manner, as I was saying. We have witnessed in some areas of the world that forcing for local content policies is certainly counterproductive. For example, as Gamesa, we think that some of the most expensive machines we are selling in Brazil, and the reason is that we are forced to do a local content, and the local content something is absolutely against the cost of energy.
Thank you very much. The next question is more for the, let's say, the PV industrial players. So for Abengoa and Yingli, I would say, what specific technology we should consider for the specific ambient conditions that logically we have to face in a, let's say, desertic and high temperature environment, and to what extent that a manufacturer can differentiate himself from others, and at what cost? Of course, I'm not asking you the cost of the modules, but how can you create a desert technology not passing completely through the customers, let's say, your technology? So how do you create a competitive advantage in this specific technological environment?
I mean, we are using, we have one of our largest projects in Algeria, 230 something megawatt, and it will go up to 300. It's using polycrystalline panels of Yingli. Then we have also other regions, even in China desert, which is much more harsh than the environment here, or in US desert, also with a lot of humidity. Yingli panels are going well, so our technology can afford that. On top of it, we have sun blow special coating and other stuff on our panel. And on top of it, if the market, here comes again the story with the market, if the market really can afford it and wants it, then we can develop a super special desert panel. Now, if it makes sense and if the client will pay it, and if the business plan, if your Excel sheet can afford that extra cost, this is not up to us to decide. This is up to the investor to decide. Now, I would not be afraid about the panel, if the panel works in the desert or not. It works. High temperatures, yes, but on the other side you have more sun. So of course in UK and in Germany or in the northern part of Italy or Greece, you have better temperatures for a panel, but you have less sun. So everything is balancing out. Nature made it in a way that everything balances out.
So you can sell everywhere.
So everything is possible. And so I would not be afraid about that. Of course, there is polycrystalline technology, there is thin film technology. Which one is better, not better? We can discuss it on another session.
Thank you.
Of course, it's polycrystalline, but
So, I mean, as Abengoa, we're not in the game of module manufacturing. So, I mean, from our perspective, installing modules, it's very easy. It's price and guarantees. So, if you give us those, and we are evaluating, of course, different technologies, polycrystalline, thin film, whatever, we are making the business case. And what is very clear is that, I mean, any kind of new technology that's offering you an advantage, it also has to guarantee you that advantage. And then we are talking. But I mean, it's really the performance has to come together with the manufacturer's guarantees that promise you that over the 25 years, you will really be able to monetize on that advantage that they promise you.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Bear in mind, to underline this, that in Europe, the business plans for solar farms are going up to 30, 35 years. So we need to deliver quality.
Very much appreciated.
Thank you. Okay, so today we have all the day long we have been very, let's say, observing and I would say grateful to the big step that Egypt has undertaken in terms of regulation for renewable energy sources. So this has been recognized by the investors, by the banks. So, but I think that what is coming out from this session is that there is still something to be done in order to complete the picture of the renewable sector in Egypt. So the question for Mr. Sewedy, and then we'll go all through the panel, is what specific aspect in the current Egyptian regulation you would improve in order to facilitate, let's say, and to boost even further the development of a RES market?
Of course, Egypt have been almost now for even before the revolution in 2009 and 10, we have been working on the fee tariff, and now almost 6 years working on this. And we passed in the last 2011, 12, 13, the revolution, almost we stayed for 4 years without even a president, without a government. It was really a mess. And we are really happy that in almost 1 year now, things have changed completely. And you can believe what we have done in the last year about regulations we have been done, attracting back investments. This contract with the president have made with Siemens, the fee tariff of yesterday. These all are really things tell you how things are moving very fast. Of course, there is a lot of things to be done, and of course, yes, especially for I think the regulations, the conditions, all the things to be clear. So, but we're expecting them, and even if they are not, even if they're done, which is not as we wish, I think things can be changed. So we are really happy and expecting that things are changing every day, and the speed things are going is really extremely amazing for all of us. Thank you.
Florian, same question for you.
Okay. If I may, I'll ask for two things even. So one is we think that, I mean, as was said before, we like competition and we want to compete on as many aspects as possible. And one important aspect to compete on for renewables is on selecting the best slot of land that you can have. So it's really about making it easier for private developers to choose their piece of land and get the rights to that piece of land. I think for the time being, we've seen the huge areas that Dr. Sobke has been showing in his presentation. There's a lot to be done there, but more freedom on the land would result eventually in even lower prices and in more diversification, less concentration risk, as has been mentioned in the banking panel. The other thing that we would like very much to see is after delivering on the first wave of renewables, moving to a scheme that really values not only that you have electricity and that you have renewable electricity, but also when you have the renewable electricity. So that really there's an incentive for renewables to deliver when demand is highest. And I mean, we see this now very much in Germany, where, by the way, we have over 70 gigawatts of PV plus wind installed nowadays. And just 8 days ago, we had again a Sunday where on the wholesale market, the market was paying minus 75 euros per megawatt hour. So for every megawatt hour you wanted to deliver to the market, you were paying 75 euros. And exactly to avoid these kind of situations where you have too much electricity in the market at certain points in time, and you're paying to get rid of it, you should, as early as possible, start to move to tariff structures that incentivize to deliver at peak demand. And I think there's a lot of good examples for that. Morocco is one, South Africa is another one, where evening peak demand is valued with higher tariffs at these peak times.
Thank you.
We're getting requests from Germany, because he said this, to change panels from south direction to southeast or southwest direction.
Maybe north.
So, so because to get a better tariff in the morning hours or in the afternoon hours to reach 100% of the performance of the panel. To Egypt, in terms of time, I agree. It's okay. Why you want to make it faster? Greece, Germany, and other European countries, our big examples, they made it very fast, and they have their own problems now and a couple of years ago. So I think the time is fine. And compared to other countries, neighboring countries in the Middle East, Egypt is doing it very fine. For me, it's a bravo. Now, with one remark, everybody said it, and let me also say it. It's, of course, the transmission lines. What do you want to do with 75 gigawatts of solar, wind, biomass, and I don't know what, if you cannot transport it? So here is the bottleneck. And on that one, somebody needs to find a solution. Maybe it's not us, maybe it's another forum, but this is what makes me more afraid. And it's not only Egypt, it's everywhere. Everywhere. Take the example of Dubai. In 2 years, we will get connected, this 200 megawatt that they announced. Why? Because substation, because grid, because. So same story here. So that's the problem and nothing else. On that one, somebody needs to think and to speak publicly about it, so to find help and solutions.
That's true. I agree with Evangelos. We've seen in the past that grid becomes a bottleneck in some of the area with major wind development. So grid is something we have to, at least institution in Egypt should address. But I wouldn't point anything more. For us as a manufacturer, the huge menu that Egyptian institution is offering with the EPC biddings, with the BOs, with the IPPs model, and with the feed-in tariff is wow, is great. Maybe another suggestion, maybe something that can jeopardize the speed that the targets require is probably the wind measurement period, and the way through government can make that faster, but by installing some mass will help future investors to take the decision faster, because they will have the wind data supplied before. That's
very good. Right now?
Well, it's difficult to add something at the end, like always. Okay, what we would like all together, a lot of projects, so that you continue with the development of the market and make sustainable market, because it's not something a peak in 1 year. We would like to see a sustainable market, because we have chance to go with you. As Vestas, we like to go in new areas. Even Egypt is not new, because Safarana 10 years ago we started. But in general, we like to go with the right technology, new markets, like we've shown in Jordan with the 3 megawatt technology, which address also some issues, I think, also in Egypt, the grid, full converter grid. So I think we have solutions which I think are valuable also for Egypt. Then don't forget, we're also interested in service, because the operational money you do during the 20 years of lifetime. So I think also we have our willingness and the capacity to build up what is needed to do the right operation in different forms, according to our clients, partners. So this is where we want to focus. And so whatever you do, continue the fast track, the speed. So everybody is very interesting, like what happened in the last year. If you continue like this, we see a lot of projects. We all will be there, I think.
Thank you very much to all of you. I think I can add as a remark that is that I think that we see a big benefits in having programmable and repeatable rounds of tenders. So we have participated in the BO, there will be a solar one, but we don't know what will be next. There is the feed-in tariff program, which is fantastic, but as many guests said today, in the quest for the highest competitiveness possible in the country, to know that there will be another round of tenders in 1 year and another more in 2 years will really help investors and industrial players, banks, financial institutions to program better their let's say, investments in the country. This is probably the only, it must be recognized that the program so far has worked very well. It has been set up in a not very easy country situation. So, of course, we are all, let's say, astonished by what Egypt has done so far. This can be, let's say, the further improvement in the program that can bring to the table the long-term perspective. Maybe that you, Mr. Sobki, want to comment on this to close our panel? Yeah, can you bring the microphone?
Well, there is yet we have done a number of things, but that was the result of 29 years of effort. So apparently we're excelling at the end. So that's and regarding local manufacturing, this is an issue which has at least two sides of the coin. Now we are offering some custom duties incentives. That's definitely not helping the local manufacturing. But on the so we need to address these things over the next while, maybe in a year time or so. A number of studies were conducted in Egypt over the last 3-4 years, assessing the possibility of local manufacturing in some of the, say, small parts in the area of wind turbines and some of the Egyptian industries, even though that's not their line of business, yet they can manufacture things which can help in the area of wind energy development and so on. On the other area, on the areas of solar, not the PV, but the CSP, there is a couple of projects which were conducted on an experimental basis over the last couple of years in Egypt, which showed that there is a potential of producing quite a bit of the CSP components within Egypt itself. So local manufacturing do have a chance. It's not only local manufacturing, also local services on the O&M thing. Egypt do have a relatively reasonable experience, especially in the operation and maintenance of wind farms. So I think that is something which we really further need to build up on, and joint effort with the different developers, both local developers and international developers.
Thank you very much. We are perfectly on time. So
we're on time, and yes.
So
if you stay here, I would like to Mr. Sobki to say a few words on behalf of the overall day.
Absolutely.
Don't forget, he's representing the Minister of Electricity here. So
yes.
If you want to say a few words to conclude the overall.
Sure. On behalf of His Excellency, Mr. Dr. Mohammed Shakir al-Marqabi, the Minister of Electricity and Renewable Energy in Egypt.
On the stage, because the television must take you. It's all
right.
You'll be famous one day, you
know. I'd like to thank you all. I'd like to thank Res for Med. I'd like to thank Enel for hosting this event. And I'd like also to thank all the participants who did come and participate in the discussions, all the distinguished panelists all over the day. That was quite interesting. It highlighted a number of issues which Egypt can benefit from further, and we're really looking for successful programs or successful schemes for the development of renewable energies in Egypt over the next short period, couple of years or a little bit more, and that's only possible with the involvement of the developers, manufacturers, of all these stakeholders who are presented in this room and, of course, around the world. So thank you very much for this, and best of luck for everyone.
Thank you so much.
Roberto.
Thank you, Dr. Sobig, for these final words. Before I close, two things. On the 11th of June in Milano at the Bocconi University, we are having an investment day for Northern Africa. So you will be all invited there by us. It will be the end of the major in Bocconi, and we're having in the morning, maybe also in the afternoon, a full session on investment from Morocco to Turkey. So you will be invited for there. Second thing, mid-September, we are going to Cairo, because the Rest for Med philosophy is you make a focus on one country. Remember last year Morocco, and then you go to the country. There is a more close group, which will be the Rest for Med plus strong supporter going to Cairo, and I know already from Mr. Sobicki and Giptera, we receive a lot of support. We're having a full day there for presenting ourselves. Of course, I'm also aware that in September there will be the launch of the Renewable platform with the Commission and the Union, so we hope to be there as also as a player there. And finally, as was mentioned before, in mid-November, we look forward to invite selected people from your agency, from your country, to come to Milano again, to our guests, to spend 2 weeks again with us in this high-level training course, and more to come. So I am really happy that we have been closing in time, but also for the quality and quantity, like a chocolate, quality and sex sometime may age. But most important, everything will be on the web by the end of the week. There will be no password, so you can download all this presentation. And in some cases, some of you will go on YouTube as well, with your permission. Okay? Thank you so much. Safe journey home, and thank you, my president, for tolerating me and being myself. Bye bye. Ciao, Antonello.